Yo, I am back to recap episode 2 of Australian Survivor Rebels vs. Titans. So we start this episode back at Rebels camp, and yeah, safe to say, it's Kumbaya, they're having the best time of their lives. Well, not really. Pretty quickly, Alex is just getting more and more fed up with Kelly, and then it shows Kelly having a few moments on the screen, which, I mean, look, it's her personality, so I'm not gonna complain. I mean, it's good TV. So yeah, pretty quickly we hear a confessional from Sarah talking about how Tobias is her, not her number one. She didn't say number one, but she basically was like, "Yeah, I feel really close to Tobias. We're kind of tight," and then Peter and Alex are kind of on the same wavelength. So based on the edit, where from what we've seen on Rebels, the four of them might be in the alliance, but they haven't confirmed it. And then Sarah was talking about people that possibly on the outs, and then the camera panned to Raymond, and then Sarah asking Raymond if he was looking for an idol or had an idol. And then, yeah, pretty quickly, Raymond was like acting really sus. And then, let's see, we go back to Titans camp. And yeah, Nathan's pretty blindsided. Nathan, Jaden, and Winner were left out of the vote. And then Aiden and Mark. Well, here's the thing. They already formed the duo, I believe, in the first episode, but we didn't. Now they have an alliance name. Their alliance name is called the Invisible Hand. But I think it makes more sense to call them the Invisible Hand, because there's two of them. But that's just me. But I guess we're getting some like high five action going on here. I'm not really sure. Anyways, we go to the reward challenge. I mean, yeah, we go to the reward challenge, and pretty quickly it's just like, oh, okay, each round they compete in pairs or a few people from opposing tribes, and then if you win that round, you win an item, like a luxury item, for example, like fishing gear or a pillow or whatever it is. And yeah, they have a few rounds, and they both tribes win different stuff. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, pretty boring. I mean, here's the thing: tug of war is a decent challenge, but when it comes to reward, as I've said in previous recaps, I personally think reward is the least important part of the entire episode because we don't. It's not really relevant to us as an audience watching because it doesn't impact the vote and it doesn't impact who's going to tribal or the game. So yeah, we go back to immunity count. Well, we go back to camp, and Winner has won. Well, his tribe has won bananas, the Titans, and he bites into a banana, and all of a sudden there's like this little scroll thing in the middle of it, like a toothpick looking thing. And he was like, "Yeah, I was just trying to enjoy my banana." But instead, like, there's this little thing. He opens it up. It's a cuter idol. Fast forward to he finds the idol. He knows where the idol is. He grabs the idol, and then before he grabs the idol, he tells Jaden about the idol cube. So Jaden, I'm assuming, would by now has known where the idol is. Well, he did say, "I think the idol is in this location." So I'm assuming Jaden knows that Winner has the idol, or at least, well, he knows the cube. Put it that way. I don't know if Jaden knows that Winner has the idol, but he knows the cue. So we can tell that Winner and Jaden are very tight, or at least that's what the camera's showing us. Then, yeah, we got to the immunity challenge, and yeah, I mean, this challenge was pretty decent. I thought, so the tribes started, they had to run into this like, net thing one at a time. They went into this net that twisted, and every time they'd have to go in like one at a time. And they all went in and went past it, and then at the end of the challenge, there was this. Well, first of all, I mean, the second part of the challenge was where they had this net. Oh my god! They had this net like above their head, and they had to like not volleyball style it, but basically they had to like put their hands in the net and knock coconuts out of, or like fake balls basically, out of the net onto the ground in front of them so they could collect them, because then their goal was to get the coconuts and throw them into the net of the opposite tribe, because at the end there were two people from each tribe, two rebels and two titans, who had to hold the net at the very end to make sure it was basically if you dropped the net, you used immunity for your tribe. So there were two people and two people here. And yeah, I mean, Tobias and Ferris ended up killing that challenge. They ended up winning for Rebels. Rebel won immunity again. And yeah, I mean, look, Rebels are doing pretty decently, but I have a feeling that they're gonna be maybe at the contenders too, in the sense that like they'll be like the contenders tribe, where they'll have a massive majority, but then they'll probably screw it up, or at least that's what I'm guessing, but we never really know. Anyway, come to Titans using immunity, Rebels win immunity. Titans decide. Well, first of all, it pans to Jess, and she's basically just like, well, I don't want to vote a strong guy out, blah, blah. Fast forward to Jess. Well, Nathan going up to Jess being like, who are you thinking? And of course, Nathan has no power, but for some reason, Nathan's walking around like he runs Jess. I'm not really sure why. And he walks around him, and pretty quickly, he's just like, well, I was thinking we do. Well, okay, put it this way. Jess basically wants to vote Eden out. Eden is Jess's new target, but what Jess doesn't know is that Eden has this alliance with Mark called Invisible Hand. And I don't want to go into promos, but I think it makes way more sense for the episode if we talk about spoiler promos. We see in a future promo basically that Mark, Eden, Kitty, and Carrion have this mafia senior citizen alliance, you could call it. They haven't put it in the episode, but that's what's to come. And yeah, I mean, safe to say, Mark and Eden have pretty much like all the connections in the tribe. And or from what the edit is showing us, they're showing them as the dictators in the game, the people running the tribe. And then fast forward to Jess throwing Eden's name out, Eden finding out that Jess threw his name out, and then proceeding to want to split the vote on Jess, main target Jess, and then splitting the vote on Nathan. And everyone, for some reason, everyone on Twitter, from what I saw, was hating on Eden, being like, oh, he's going way too hard. I agree. Eden was freaking out. He should have been more calm. He shouldn't have been so gung-ho. However, to be fair, Eden is a Survivor super fan, and this is his dream. So if he doesn't care, I mean... But yeah, no, I totally get from Eden's perspective that it's hard to not freak out. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you don't want to be freaking out if your name is getting thrown out. Yeah, calm down, chill. Ideally, the plan will work out, which ended up happening. I mean, if we fast forward to then the tribal, which we'll get to, we saw the result. Just got voted out in a split vote plan that Eden created. And people were like, oh yeah, Eden needs to calm down. It's like, okay, look, Eden probably shouldn't have freaked out as much. But yeah, I mean, it worked. Jess is gone. They split the votes. Let me just quickly see who voted who. Because, so, Carrion voted Nathan. Eden voted Nathan. Kitty voted Nathan. And then Winner, who was in the minority on the first tribal council with the Frankie vote and voted yes, the first tribal was voted Nathan. I also saw a lot of people were really confused why Winner voted Nathan this tribal council. I totally get why Winner voted Nathan this tribal council. First of all, he was probably advised to do so. That's what I think. And then secondly, even if he wasn't advised to vote Nathan, you're in minority. You already know in the episode, it literally shows Winner being like, me and Jaden aren't targets. In in my opinion, I think from Winner's perspective, the reason why he told Jaden about the idol was because he was like, well, we're going to need it because Nathan's going to be gone. Or at least maybe that's the perception I have. Another thing I noticed was maybe Winner's not as close to Nathan. Maybe Winner and Nathan don't have that close of a bond, but because they were in minority, it's assumed by the edit that they're going to stick together. Because we've seen this before in US Survivor and other Survivor seasons, where like people will be in a minority vote, and then people will assume that you will continue voting with the people who you had voted with previously. So, for example, Adam and Zeke in Survivor Millennials vs. Gen X, they voted together. Their first tribal council, the Maori vote. However, they didn't trust each other despite being the only two left on the outs going forward. And I think it's stuff like that where some fans get a bit confused by that because they're like, but they voted together, so it must mean they're all tight. Look, I think Winner and Jaden are tight. From what I've seen at least, I don't believe Winner is that tight to Nathan. Or at least that's what I think the edit's trying to tell us. Obviously, we'll get more information about that later. Another thing I wanted to point out was I feel like here's my thing. I don't understand just going around throwing out Aiden's name was not a good decision. Strategically, Aiden voting with her last tribal council. You had already barely escaped your first vote of the season. You Jess did not have the power. I think Jess thought that the game was more deal with than it actually was, and I think she found out that it's not just you throwing out a pen and hoping it sticks. It's literally like, okay, once you vote with someone, because they just saved your ass, you have when the second you threw out Eden's name, everyone was like, okay, Jess is used canon. Jess is not to be trusted. She's disloyal. She's not going to be loyal to a team. I think that's the problem that happened with Jess. Because I genuinely think, had Jess not thrown out Eden's name, I think Jess, maybe I'm wrong because Jaden, Eden, and Winner seem to be not positioned in a good spot, but everyone seems to want them around because of challenges. But if we're talking about taking challenges out of the equation, if we're just talking about the strategic aspect of it, Jess voted in majority last tribal council. People actively went out of their way. Eden, Charles, Mark, Kitty, Carrion. These people actively went out of their way to save her. And then, what did she do? She turns around. She's like, "Yeah, just vote out Eden." Bad move. If this is the second tribal council and you're already quote throwing someone who you were working with under the bus, yeah, it's gonna come across sketchy. It's gonna come across really bad for you. And I think, in hindsight, Jess watching this back probably will think about that. She'll be like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. But what can you do? It's Survivor. Even though I would have preferred that massive majority to stick together, because I think I love that gameplay. I think it makes way more sense to continue spinning the votes on two of the minority, aka Jaden and Nathan, as primary targets, and Winner as a backup target, or if you think he's less likely to play an idol, depending on the situation. But because Australian Survivor is more physical, these players are not thinking that way. From my perspective, I think, they need to do this. But from their perspective, it's like challenges matter, challenges this, challenges that. So they're going to have a bias towards challenges. Which means I'm not sure how it's going to work out for them, because people like Nathan are going to get further in the season when, let's be honest, Nathan barely should. if Nathan wasn't a physical beast, Nathan probably would have been the second person voted out. And I know a lot of people might disagree with me there, but they might say, but Jess didn't have those social connections. We heard that from episode 1. The only reason I believe Jess was voted out was 2 reasons. 1, challenges. People didn't want to keep using. 2, the fact she threw out someone's name who actively put his neck out on the line to save her. That is the only 2 reasons from what I've seen. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that could have been shown outside of the edit. Those are the only 2 reasons, in my opinion, that make sense for why you would get rid of Jess. Past that, it doesn't make sense. Because if you're thinking about like positioning and numbers and whatever, if Jess didn't throw Eden's name out, I mean, hypothetically, let's say Nathan, Winner, or Jaden would be gone, probably because they would have split the votes. It would have been 8 versus 3 in that scenario, but obviously that can happen. And going forward, I'm not really sure how solid this 7 is going to be, but hopefully, they don't put challenges too high in priority, because I don't want to see that on my screen. I don't want to see people say, I don't want to vote this person because of challenges. I'm sorry. The challenges that happen pre-merge, the people you want to keep around pre-merge are going to be the people you're going to want out because they're challenge based at merge. So to me, that's not a valid argument. But of course, I see the game a bit differently. And even if you are going to vote someone out based on challenges, you might as well vote out someone in the minority who's bad at challenges. Because at that point, you're still not destroying any type of bond you have, ideally. But at the same time, I totally get why Eden did what he had to do to survive. Because if I'm Eden and I hear that someone I protected threw my name out, I'd be like, well, yeah, I can't work with you now, can I? You are not a reliable ally. So that's why I wasn't as frustrated to see Jess go home last night, even though in a normal situation I'd be like, yeah, that's not what I really want to see on my TV, but it is what it is. We go to Rebels. And yeah, I mean, I saw in a promo coming up tonight. I'm not going to go too much into detail because I don't want to have possible spoilers. But we see that going forward, it appears that there's a cuddle crew of some sort alliance that people are talking about. And I can't go too much information on that because I don't know how. I have a guess on what I think the cuddle crew is going to be, but obviously we're not going to go too much into it because I'm not really 100% sure. Anyways, I feel like going forward, positioning-wise, Eden definitely needs to no. I think after the whole his name getting thrown out and him getting a little bit spooked, I think that might have spooked some of his allies. He just needs to calm down. Just kill it. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, I mean, safe to say, the Invisible Hand seems to be kind of running the Titans tribe, which is great for them. I mean, that's sick. As for, I actually really like that they called themselves an actual name, because normally it's just like, oh, this alliance of these people are running the game, but we actually have an alliance. These are the people. This alliance name. It's like the vigilantes in Heroes vs Villains. It's like, okay, we have an established alliance name that I can call them going forward, and yeah, I think that's sick. Anyways, let's see. Oh yeah, another thing I wanted to point out is suck it, Titans. I'm sorry. I should have said this last recap, but Tobias putting that up is the funniest thing. Like, I hope we get it every episode. Like, I don't care how long Tobias actually stays in the game, but I really hope that happens, because that would be the funniest thing of all time. Anyways, that's all I really had to say about this episode. I just hope going forward we get a bit more, look, we're going to get more of the dynamics on Rebels tonight, which I'm very excited for. I think as long as Winner doesn't go around telling more people that he has an idol, that's cool, I guess. Even though my guess is that if he's already told Jaden, I don't see why that information isn't going to spread to Nathan. And then I think Nathan might go around and tell a few more people. But I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Anyways, thank you all for watching. And till tomorrow when I do a third recap. Thanks. Peace out.